Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Books and Bytes. Today, we're diving deep into Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. It's a classic for a reason, folks.
Yeah, it really is.
And we're going to find out why.
It's a book that grabs you by the collar and forces you to look at the world in a whole new light.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's give our listener a quick overview. What's the setup here?
Imagine a future where books are outlawed and firemen don't put out fires. They start them to burn books. That's the world Bradbury throws us into.
So why the book burning? What's the deal with this society?
Well, it's a world obsessed with instant gratification and mind-numbing entertainment. Think wall-sized TVs, constant noise, and a population that avoids thinking too hard books with their power to make people question and think critically are seen as dangerous.
Right, so we're talking censorship, conformity, technology out of control.
Yeah.
And what happens to individual thought and all of that.
Yeah.
Heavy stuff. Let's follow the story from the beginning and see how those themes play out.
Sounds good. Let's start with Guy Montag, our protagonist. He's a fireman, one of the very people tasked with burning books.
Yeah, in the first few pages, Bradbury paints this stark picture of Montag going about his work. There's this chilling line. He knew that when he returned to the firehouse, he might wink at himself. A minstrel man, burnt corked, in the mirror. It's like he's playing a role, but there's no joy in it.
Exactly. That image of the burnt corked minstrel really highlights the emptiness of Montag's existence. He's going through the motions in a world that's lost its soul.
And then he meets Clarisse, this young woman who's completely different from everyone else. She actually observes the world around her, asks questions, and seems genuinely alive.
Think about how she shocks Montag by simply asking, "Are you happy?" It's such a simple question, but in that society, it's radical.
Totally. And her love of nature. The way she describes the dew on the grass and the taste of rain, it's like she's awakened something in Montag that he didn't even know was missing.
She's like a walking embodiment of everything that society has tried to suppress. Curiosity, critical thinking, a connection to the natural world.
So how does Montag react to this encounter? It's got to shake him up, right?
Definitely. It plants a seed of doubt in his mind. He starts noticing the shallowness of his own life, the emptiness of his marriage to Mildred, who's totally absorbed in the mindless entertainment of the parlor walls.
And then comes that turning point, the moment that really throws Montag's world into chaos.
You're talking about the woman who chooses to burn with her books, right?
Yes.
It's a gut-wrenching scene that forces Montag to confront the true power of the written word.
It's like a lightning bolt for him. He can't shake the image of her absolute defiance in the face of death.
Yeah.
And that's when he starts questioning everything he thought he knew. He even steals a book from the fire.
That act of stealing the book is the beginning of Montag's rebellion. It's a desperate attempt to find meaning in a world that seems to have lost its way.
And it's also incredibly dangerous. Remember, in this world, possession of a book is a serious crime.
Absolutely. And as Montag delves deeper into the world of books, the stakes just keep getting higher. He realizes that the knowledge and ideas contained within them are worth fighting for, even if it means risking everything. So Montag has this stolen book, and he's grappling with its contents, with the whole idea of knowledge that's been kept from him. What does he do next?
He reaches out to someone he never thought he'd confide in favor, a retired English professor.
Right.
Remember that chance encounter they had in the park a year earlier?
Yes, that scene is crucial. Faber represents the intellectual side of the resistance. He understands the power of books not just as objects, but as repositories of history, ideas, and the potential for critical thinking.
And he becomes Montag's mentor, guiding him on this dangerous path of discovery. They even come up with this crazy plan to plant books in the homes of firemen to expose the hypocrisy of the system.
What's fascinating is how their relationship highlights the different ways people resist oppression. Montag is driven by emotion, by a visceral yearning for something more. Faber is more conscious, relying on intellect and strategy.
But both of them understand that the fight for knowledge is ultimately a fight for humanity itself. Remember that powerful passage where Faber talks about books having pores, the quality of texture that life itself has?
Yes. It speaks to the idea that knowledge is not just abstract information, it's woven into the fabric of our being, connecting us to the past, to each other, and to the world around us.
That's such a great point. But this whole plan with the firemen's houses backfires spectacularly, doesn't it?
It does. Montag's attempt to share his newfound knowledge with his wife Mildred and her friends is a disaster. They're horrified by the book he reads to them, clinging to their superficial world of entertainment and mindless chatter.
That scene where he reads the poem Dover Beach to them is so tense. You can feel his hope crumbling as they just sit there completely unmoved.
It's a stark reminder of how easily we can become numb to beauty, to meaning, to anything that challenges our comfortable worldview. It also shows how the government has succeeded in creating a culture of fear and anti-intellectualism.
And then there's Captain Beatty Montag's fire chief. He's a fascinating character, so well-read, yet so committed to destroying books.
Beatty represents a more insidious form of censorship, the kind that uses knowledge itself to justify the suppression of knowledge. His arguments are dangerous because they're seductive. He almost convinces Montag that ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, he's like the devil quoting scripture.
Right.
But their final confrontation is explosive. The tension has been building throughout the book,
Yeah.
and it all comes to a head in that fiery showdown.
That's a pivotal moment in Montag's journey. He's forced to choose a side, and he ultimately rejects Beatty's world of controlled thought and blind obedience.
But it comes at a terrible cost. Beatty's death, the destruction of Montag's own home, it's also tragic. And then he's on the run with the mechanical hound, this terrifying symbol of the state's power, on his trail.
That chase scene is pure Bradbury brilliance. It's a heart-pounding reminder of how technology can be used for control, for hunting down those who dare to think differently.
So Montag is running for his life, trying to escape the mechanical hound, and the relentless pursuit of the authorities. It's a pretty bleak picture, right?
It is, but even in this darkest moment, Bradbury offers a glimmer of hope. Remember, Montag has that vial of whiskey that Faber gave him?
Oh, yeah.
It contains a powerful concoction that alters his scent, allowing him to throw the hound off his trail.
Right. It's like a symbol of the resourcefulness and ingenuity that can help us survive even the most oppressive systems.
Exactly. And as Montag flees the city, he stumbles upon a group of people who call themselves the Book People. These are individuals who have committed entire books to memory, preserving knowledge in the face of widespread censorship.
It's an incredible image, isn't it? They're like walking libraries, each one carrying a piece of humanity's collective wisdom within them.
It highlights the idea that true knowledge is not just about physical objects. It's about understanding, internalizing, and embodying the ideas that shape our world.
And they welcome Montag into their fold, recognizing him as a kindred spirit, someone who understands the value of what they're trying to protect.
Montag finds a sense of belonging, a purpose he never had as a fireman. He learns that each member of the group has memorized a specific text, becoming a living embodiment of that work.
It's like they're forming a new kind of society, one built on the foundation of shared knowledge and a deep respect for the power of ideas.
And then in a truly shocking turn of events, the city is destroyed in a nuclear blast.
Wow. It's a devastating moment, but there's also a strange sense of inevitability to it. Wouldn't you say, like, it's the logical conclusion of the path society had chosen?
Absolutely. It's as if Bradbury is saying that a society that burns books is ultimately destined to burn itself.
But amidst the destruction, there's also a sense of renewal, a chance for a fresh start.
Right. The Book People, having witnessed the city's demise, begin to walk toward the ruins, ready to help rebuild a world where knowledge and critical thinking are valued.
It's a powerful image of hope emerging from the ashes of destruction.
And it speaks to the cyclical nature of history. Societies rise and fall, but the human spirit endures, and from the ruins of the old, we have the opportunity to create something new, something better.
So what does this all mean for us, the readers, living in a world that sometimes feels eerily similar to the one Bradbury envisioned?
I think Fahrenheit 451 is a powerful call to action. It reminds us that we can't take knowledge and freedom of thought for granted. We have to be vigilant to resist the forces that would seek to control our minds and limit our access to information.
It also challenges us to be more than passive consumers of information. It urges us to engage with ideas, to question what we're told, and to seek out diverse perspectives.
And most importantly, it reminds us that the power to shape the future lies within each of us.
Wow, that was quite a journey through Bradbury's dystopian masterpiece. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Fahrenheit 451. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
It's a book that stays with you long after you finish reading it, prompting you to ask important questions about the world around you.
And we hope it inspires you to keep those pages turning and those minds engaged. Until next time, happy reading,